you're not a parent, at least not yet. So maybe you won't know about this. This is something that happens with parents when you watch your kids grow up. And it's not a good or a bad thing. It just is. You sort of look at what they're doing, and you're kind of like, you're looking for what they're good at.
Okay.
Like, right? What are your gifts? What are your talents? What are you not good at? You should know those too, right? I think maybe we found what Buster Posey is good at.
What's that?
My God, the man can sell. I don't know if he knows how to buy, but wow, he can sell. Sell. Coffee's for closers. Buster, have a cup.
Where on the list of things I want my president of baseball operations to be good at, where is selling? Because ideally, I never have to sell. Exactly. Ideally, I'm always buying.
Yeah.
It's better than being terrible at it, I suppose, but you hope it's a skill that you never have to utilize or very rarely have to utilize.
Well, I'm also pleased with Buster Posey because he's made so many deals that you and I don't need to recap the prospect return today because it's a bunch of names that people don't know anyway, and we're going to see. But all of them are between 17 and 24 years old, and there's a lot of them. Just a lot of them. Just a lot of people got acquired by the San Francisco Giants today. 6 different deals. Or should I say 6 different players?
Yeah, 5 deals.
5 different deals because Kilian and Arraez went in the same deal.
Yeah.
But just a huge haul. And the only thing I can say about, like, again, no different than when we do a draft and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you did great or did poorly. I know baseball people think that the Giants are having a really good day. That's great. Like, in other words, if you're grading well in terms of your assessment of players and your ability to leverage other teams, if you're doing that well, then great. That's wonderful. I guess my main assessment, though, is Buster understood the assignment. He understood the assignment.
If he didn't understand the assignment, we'd have to have a conversation with him. Because you have to.
But he could have just done
This was
Ray,
an obvious one, right?
He could have just done Ray and Arraez and a reliever.
Yeah, I would have been upset at that.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, 5 different deals, 6 different players, and by the way, 25 minutes to go.
Plenty of time.
He understood the assignment.
Yeah.
And he did it.
Well, we don't need to give you the names of all of the prospects because you're right. Some of them aren't probably going to make the major league roster ever, and the guys that do probably won't be here for a couple of years. One that will and will play this season, Marcelo Mayer from Boston. I like this deal. I like the general concept, even if maybe you don't know a ton about Marcelo Mayer. He was a highly, highly, highly ranked prospect. In 2022, the 14th ranked prospect in baseball. Yep. 2023, 9th ranked prospect in baseball. He's been a can't miss guy for a while. Made his debut last season, struggled, didn't play a ton. Played this year, has struggled through some injuries as well as currently hurt with a stress reaction in his forearm. Last played like 10 days ago. 10-day injured list, so we'll get an update on him when that becomes official, I would imagine, from the Giants. But I like just taking a swing, and you're only giving up Eric Miller. I like taking a swing on a really, really talented guy who's still 22 years old, and it hasn't panned out to the major league level yet. Maybe you find something like the Brewers did with Kyle Harrison that you didn't.
No doubt.
And it turns out to be a really good player, and that would be a boon of a trade.
No doubt.
For Eric Miller?
I mean, look, he's only about 300-plus at-bats into his entire major league career. So could something still blossom? Absolutely, but it's like you're saying. I mean, the majority of what the Giants have done today is also incredibly, and I cannot stress this enough, low risk.
Yeah.
Like they're
the biggest risk one is probably Heliot Ramos, right?
If Heliot Ramos somehow continues to become an all-star, I don't even see how that's possible. He's going to a Yankees team where I don't think he's not going to play every single day once they get healthy. Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, these people are coming back. So, I don't know. Heliot Ramos is a nice player. And I'm glad he finally broke that stupid record about starting left fielders on opening day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heliot. If for nothing else, thank you for that. But, Heliot Ramos did some good things. Came up. He was by the way, Heliot Ramos is a great example maybe of even what you're talking about with Marcelo Mayer. Heliot Ramos was a guy the Giants almost, first-round pick, almost gave up on him because it's like, dude, are you ever going to come around? And then all of a sudden, right at a time of need, it was like, ooh, I think he kind of turned a corner and he came up and he made an all-star team. and he hit over 20 homers. And
he wasn't ever as high of a prospect as Mayer was, and Mayer was that high when he got promoted and officially became a Red Sox. But to your point, when you drafted Ramos, where you drafted him, and early in his career as a minor leaguer, this was, all right, this is one of the future franchise cornerstones. And then he never quite turned into that. And then right before the end, he was like, okay, I'm figuring myself out a little bit, made that all-star appearance. A lot of issues in the outfield, a lot of issues on the field, on the bases, but so many. Can't even count, really.
I forgot about that for a sec. Now I got to remember all those base running mistakes.
Specifically last year.
That pesky infield fly rule.
He's been better at that this year, if memory serves, but last year was really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. Yeah. But yeah, I know Alex Pavlovich. You're talking about baseball people. Alex Pavlovich, our friend from NBC Sports Bay Area, says the Giants are having a really, really good deadline. It's impossible to know how good, to your point. But yes, I don't look at any of these deals and say, ooh, they shouldn't have done that. Like TBD on who the prospects turn out to be. But if I'm just looking at it as, this is a 22-year-old, 6'7" left-handed pitcher that, they need to stockpile arms. That was the right general thing to do. The only question comes is, how good is your scouting department, and did you choose the right prospects from those teams?
Well, no, and you build it up because what you want is depth, because they're not all going to work out.
That's the secret to the Dodgers is you have depth, so that when a guy like Skubal comes available on the market, one, you have to have the willingness from your front office to give the contract that's going to come after the deal, but you have the firepower to make the deal, give the Tigers prospects that they find interesting enough to give up on Skubal, and so that you're still not empty in your farm system after you make that deal. That's why the Dodgers have been as good as they've been, because they have the best farm in baseball.
We'll get to them.
Okay. We will.
We'll get to them.
But that is the key, depth.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's depth in your farm system.
Why do the Giants have 37 shortstop prospects between the ages of 17 and 20? Because they're not going to keep them all.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Of course I don't love it when general managers do this. A.J. Preller used to do this famously in San Diego, and it always made me cringe a little bit.
A.J. Preller.
Where he refers to people as the asset. And it's like, that
not good from a
made me feel very good. But,
HR or PR standpoint.
But he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Like, some of these players will make the bigs, some of them never will, and some of them will be traded.
Yeah.
Some of them will be traded to other teams, preferably at a time when the Giants at the end of July are ready to make a run for something. Remember when they used to do that? I remember when they used to do that. Used to go to the World Series and everything and win it. And we would have a parade and all that.
That's great.
Yeah. Now we get like one fun day a year at the end of July and the early August when we start to get excited about another year. But anyway.
The thing that's going to make Giants fans more excited than anything else is when the dust settles on the trade deadline and you get all the new prospects and all the new teams and you have all the players changing organizations. You get the updated farm system rankings. I don't know if you saw the post MLB draft rankings. The Giants moved all the way up, depending on what outlet you're looking at. The Giants moved all the way up to sixth, the sixth best farm in all of baseball.
That was before today.
That was post draft. So
you
you plug Jackson Flora in there and a couple of other guys. They jumped all the way up to six after today as one of the few real true sellers in baseball. And some of the teams behind them with a better farm system entering the trade deadline, like the Brewers and a couple of others, Tampa Bay Rays, those teams are not selling. They're buying.
Yep.
So their farm system theoretically should be getting worse. Yours should be getting better. You could be looking at the Giants having a top 3 farm system when it's all said and done after the trade deadline.
In 19 minutes. I mean, it's already true, but nobody's working on that yet.
Yeah. When you see those new updated rankings come out, they could be on some publications a top 3 farm system.
Which again is the assignment right now. It doesn't mean anything to anybody until it actually works out, because people and things get ranked and then they're wrong. But that kind of depth is obviously very, very necessary for them right now. Ben in Hayward. Hi, Ben. Thank you for calling.
Hey guys, love your show. Hey, you were saying earlier, hey, is this a sad day? Is it a good day? To me, it's just a flat out sad day unless you're going to get rid of Chapman, Adames. I might even throw Devers in there.
Okay.
I mean, those are the guys that are bringing it down. So I don't see how this is a good day in that regard, because next year you're going to pull out the same thing, with those guys in it. And, it'd be great to have we need more pitching, right? But we forget, what was the deal? They couldn't hit, right? They couldn't hit. And finally, when they started hitting, the pitching didn't come through. But this year, they couldn't hit. So who do they get rid of? They get rid of Arraez, who could hit, right? And I understand, you got to get, he's going away next year. But, hey, you better talk to him before you get rid of him and say, hey, we're going to make a deal with you at the end of the season. And, when you get on the market, because we want you back. I hope that they did that, because if they didn't, it's like same problem next year. It's like no hitting. So I don't know. To me, it's sad unless they get rid of those guys, because those guys are dragging it down.
Ben, thanks for calling. It's a super interesting point on a couple of fronts that I think we want to get into. First and foremost, the Arraez thing. And I've had my dukes up about this for about 2 weeks because I'm getting peppered from my mom. Who
loves Luis Arraez.
Just cannot love Luis Arraez enough. And I've tried to do my best to kind of grease the wheels for all of this. I've tried multiple phone calls over the last 2 weeks to explain to Mom how this all works, why they're going to trade Luis Arraez, why it would be wrong for them to not trade Luis Arraez, all with the compassion and understanding of any Giants fan that's like, but wait a minute, I like him.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's impossible to not like him.
It's impossible.
And I was someone who was against the signing in the first place.
He apparently, and let's not act like we work there, but it's not just the stuff you all see. There's a lot going on that we don't see. Vitello sounded like he was going to cry last week when they talked about him being traded because he said Luis Arraez makes everybody's day better every day. Like, this guy was perfect. He was absolutely everything and anything plus more that you could have wanted him to be. But there's two problems there. One of them is obvious, and I think you all get it. The Giants are going nowhere this year, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. Would be flat out. I mean, they're walking away with the Phillies' number 4 prospect because of him.
A lot of Phillies teams pissed, by the way. Upset.
No doubt. And so it would be stupid, just flat out stupid, to not make that deal. The interesting one to me is the second part he said, which is, before you trade him, do you try to wink and say we want you back? And I'm torn there, because as awesome as he is, what are you going to do? What are y'all going to do with Casey Schmidt? What are you going to do with him?
Well, I said during the crossover, is Casey Schmidt your starting left fielder on opening day next year? It's possible, but you don't want that.
Yeah, if you're going to get rid of Heliot Ramos because he's not a good defender, you're going to just throw Casey out there? That's not ideal. And I know what most of your answers are, which is, well, then get rid of one of those schmucks on the left side of the infield.
And that's also what our caller pointed out.
And I don't know how viable that is. I don't even know if it's possible.
I thought there was a chance that Chapman could get traded. Maybe his injury complicates it. Maybe it means the prospect return is a little less, or maybe it means the Giants have to pay a little bit more of the contract, and maybe that's why it hasn't happened. We don't know. And
maybe he said no.
Maybe. You're right. He has the ability to say no.
Said no.
You're right. I would be shocked. I would have been absolutely floored if Adames was traded. I was surprised to hear the rumors about the Padres and Devers over the weekend. I'd be surprised if that happened as well. I probably would have predicted, I don't know, maybe like a 33% chance Chapman got traded. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You need two to tango. And with Chapman, you need 3 to tango because he's got the no trade clause, as you mentioned. The Giants have to agree. The team acquiring Chapman has to agree, and Chapman has to agree. It's incredibly difficult for that to happen. Adames was never, ever going to happen. But the larger point is, essentially, the team's going to look very, very similar next year because you have Adames, Chapman, Devers.
Well, a lot of open spots,
in those 3 spots.
A lot of open spots.
Tied up a ton of money with those 3 guys.
Yeah. And by the way, when I say like those schmucks on the left side of the infield, I'm sort of like throwing a voice. I know that's what a lot of fans say. I don't want it to sound. I don't think Matt Chapman is a schmuck. I don't even think wouldn't call Willy Adames a schmuck. I think that's been a bust of a signing so far.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a bust of a signing.
And it's not even just like the numbers. There's something wrong with the relationship.
Absolutely.
Between Willy and this fan base. There's something wrong there. We can dissect that a little bit.
And I know the Ron Washington thing, you're firmly on the side of this was miscommunication, blown out of proportion. The way that members of the Giants beat and Tony Vitello stood up for Adames and saying, no, he's working with Ron Washington. And what was reported by Wayne Randazzo on the Apple TV broadcast wasn't, the full truth, at least, or there's reasons for why he's working less with Ron Washington, like a nagging back injury or whatever it was. I also think there's clearly issue is probably too strong of a word, but I don't think Willy Adames has necessarily. We see all the outward stuff and the Gatorade and all that. I don't think it's all sunshine and rainbows in the clubhouse around Willy Adames.
I don't either. I would love to actually. We can get into that because that's a very, very, I think, interesting conversation for Giants fans to have. But there's a bigger one too. And so that's what that conversation brings up, and it's this. How do you feel as the Giants kind of rework this, but they don't rework those three? How do you feel about the future of the Giants, still including Rafael Devers, Willy Adames, and Matt Chapman?
It feels like because of, I'll say mistakes specifically about Adames and Devers, I feel less bad about the Chapman contract. But because of those mistakes, quote unquote, you're unable to go fully jump both feet in to the rebuild, tear this thing down strategy. You're unable to fully do that. And as a result, maybe you're more of an average team next year instead of a terrible team next year, because even if those guys are overpaid, like right now, you replace Matt Chapman with Casey Schmidt and you replace, Bryce Eldridge would be playing, but you bring in somebody else to DH or whatever the case is for Devers, you're going to get worse. Like you can say those are, considering the contracts they're on, bad players to have in the situation, but they are producing numbers for you. Specifically, Devers he's going to hit 30-plus home runs this year.
Back of the baseball card.
He's going to hit 30-plus home runs again this year. So, they are adding stuff to your team, but it makes it harder to fully jump into a quote-unquote reset, rebuild, and you're talking about the prospects they're acquiring in these trade deadline deals being ready in 2028. It means come 2028, you might not be as fully ready to compete again by that time because you have a 34, 35-year-old Rafael Devers who's not going to be as good, so making a bunch of money potentially.
Hey, quick aside, how does this make everybody feel? What? I wasn't there. I can't hear the tone, but I would think that this would sort of land as interesting to a lot of people. Heliot Ramos with a big smile. Quote, "I'm very happy to be a New York Yankee."
Oh.
With a smile. Quote, "I'm very happy to be a New York Yankee."
My heart was beating hard when I saw it in the TV, but I feel like I'm in a good spot. If they trade for me, it's because they want me, obviously, so I'm very proud. I mean, it's the Yankees. Heliot Ramos, that's from Susan Slusser.
It's usually a quote you save for when you get there.
Not when you say in the Giants clubhouse.
Aren't you supposed to cry and say goodbye to your buddies?
You probably said something along those lines, too.
I know. I'm not there. I'm not trying to make this into something it's not.
Susan also reported that Heliot expresses a lot of thanks to the Giants organization, but he is very excited about going to the Yankees and playing with Judge and Stanton.
Sure. And trying to win.
I don't blame him.
No, I know. I'm not trying to make it that, but it's representative of some things.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I think that clubhouse this year has just been a pot of frustration, and it's probably great to get the hell out of it.
It wasn't great last year either.
Yeah. So
no, I don't blame Heliot for saying that.
No. It's not a blame thing. It doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great when a guy who's never known another organization, he's been part of this organization for damn near a decade. And the second it happens, you start smiling and you're like, boy, am I happy to be somewhere else.
I mean, I'm predisposed to hate the Dodgers, predisposed to hate the Yankees. I feel like, if you grew up in America, if you're not a Yankee fan, you generally just hate the Yankees, right? But Heliot Ramos growing up in a different country and being a baseball player and wanting to play in the major leagues, like I would imagine there's a certain appeal, like, oh, for sure, I'm a Yankee now. That's exciting.
Just to give everybody, if you just joined us, the deadline's got 7.5 minutes to go, but it does feel like maybe we've reached the end with the Giants. Yesterday, Tyler Mahle went to the Braves in exchange for, I'm not going to do all the names because it won't mean much, but a pitcher is coming in return for Tyler Mahle. Very early this morning, 7 o'clock hour, Luis Arraez and Caleb Kilian were sent to the Phillies for their 4th and 9th overall prospects. And both of them are pitchers. Ramon Marquez is the one that you're going to want to remember. He is a top 100 prospect in baseball. There's some excitement about him. Since then, Robbie Ray has gone to the San Diego Padres for a couple of their top prospects, including their 4th. Also, a pitcher. Jump in here if I forget any of them. Eric Miller goes to the Boston Red Sox for a player who just a few years ago, Marcelo Mayer, just a few years ago, was one of the absolute top prospects in baseball. Heliot Ramos goes to the New York Yankees for 2 prospects, a pitcher, their 5th overall prospect, and then their 13th prospect, Jeff Kent's son.
Caden.
A shortstop. So,
and the vast majority of these guys are like AA, single A, high A, anywhere around there.
Yeah. There are a couple guys who could be big league ready next year. A couple guys.
And Marcelo Mayer, you will see this year from the Red Sox.
I would think.
From the Eric Miller trade.
I mean, We're heading toward all of the infield positions being available for the rest of the year. I mean, Chapman's not back. Willy's complaining of nagging injuries, and now we're post-deadline. And second base is a gaping hole.
Yeah.
So, and he plays all 3 positions. So, sure, he'll be up.
The lineup tonight's going to be really fun.
I mean, oh, gosh. So anyway, that's a recap of it all, but I think we'd love to discuss that a little bit further. How do you feel about a future in this moment that still does include Devers, Adames, and Chapman? And then the larger conversation, which absolutely centers mainly around Willy Adames.